Did you hear that? Did y'all hear that?
Yeah, recording in progress.
Yeah. Okay, that was fun. All right, well, I'm not going to keep you guys too long today because I don't feel great. But also at this point, there's not a lot to teach. It's more like instructions for how we're going to be wrapping up the rest of the semester. So there are a couple of things that I want to go over with you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I hate that it always pops up with this weird screen and like it doesn't go directly to the screen that I want.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. So you should have access to this screen as well. So if you've not submitted the second rough draft, please do so. I think a lot of you have done this already. So it's not a big deal if you already have, that's great. I do want you to do a second rough draft with a new peer, somebody who didn't read your first rough draft. It's basically the same instructions.
Okay.
So you're gonna go to a different forum. You're gonna trade rough drafts with the peer in this forum, and it should be somebody new. And you're gonna again list 5 things you want your peer to consider. And these probably, hopefully at this point, these will be 5 different things, or at least a few of them will be different because you'll have done another revision by this point. And so hopefully there'll be some different questions that you want your peer to think about. And then the peer review itself is here. Whoops, I messed this up again. Okay, I'll fix it. Okay. But the actual peer review, hold on.
My glasses.
It's peer review number 2. And it's the same idea. You'll trade drafts. You'll use a Word document. It'll be the same thing where you write your letters. I've glanced at a couple of them. I haven't graded them yet, but they look fine so far. So I think whatever you were doing before, just keep doing that. So you'll do a second one, and this will be due next week. And then obviously the revision of the op-ed paper is going to be due a week from today. So you'll get my feedback probably over the weekend for your second rough draft. And then your final draft will be due a week from today. One of the things that I want you to keep in mind is that I'd like you to write a cover letter to me so that you can explain what you asked your peers to address, what they had to say about these issues. And maybe you could talk about both people who looked, I'm sorry, it's really hurting. Maybe you could talk about what both people had to say. As long as you talk about one person, maybe the most recent person, that would be fine. So let me show you what this looks like. This is the template that I want you to use. So it doesn't have to be super long, but I want you to write me a little letter. I'm having you say Dr. Veladata. You could say Christy if you will prefer. But you're going to say who you shared your essay with, who this person, and the title of your essay, what 5 concerns you asked your peer to consider, what kind of feedback you got, what did this person suggest you do to improve your essay, and talk about that here. And then some sort of, discussion about what you did to change it. So did you take your peers, everything your peer asked you to do? Did you address all of that? Or were there a few things that you thought, well, maybe I'll keep it this way, or maybe I'll go in this direction instead? But just sort of explain to me how you ended up revising the essay. And then some kind of closing statement. This is just an example. You should use a different wording, but this has been a challenging process, but I believe I learned a lot. Something that sort of closes it, and then sincerely, and put your name. So it should kind of look like this on the page, although of course it'll be longer. Like that second paragraph would be longer than what you see here. And so with the third, most likely. But just, this gives you an idea of what I'm looking for, because sometimes people have never written cover letters before, especially for an assignment. But this gives me an idea of what your thought process was as you were revising this final paper, okay? So I think it'll be useful for you too to really be thinking about what you did. So it'll be useful for me to know, but it's also, I think, useful for you to be writing this letter and giving it some thought about, you know, your choices, the choices that you made for the assignment. Okay. And then finally, the last thing, this will be due during finals week. It's who are you now as a writer? Okay. So I want you to go back and look at the original assignment. Who are you as a writer? The one that you wrote at the beginning of the semester. Maybe you don't remember. It was a long time ago now. But so I want you to be thinking about how your writing has changed, how you as a writer have changed over the course of the semester. You know, so you should look at that original essay. You don't necessarily have to refer back to it, but it would be in terms of refer back to it as part of your essay, but it would be useful for you to read it so that you can think, this is where I was before and here I am now. And maybe that would be something that you might want to incorporate, but it's not necessarily required. So you're going to ask yourself, you know, how have your attitudes toward writing changed at all? Or have they basically stayed the same? How about how you approach writing? Have you altered your writing process at all? What do you feel like you can do now that you couldn't do before? What do you know about writing that you didn't know before? What do you still hope to develop further? Where do you see yourself going with your writing? So, you know, I want you to just, you don't have to show me a peer review of this. There's not going to be like a rough draft and then a revision. But I want you to revise and edit on your own. Okay. I want you to make sure that you proofread it and you know, edit and polish it by yourself. If you want me to take a look at it at any point, I can, but this is not due. I think this is due on the 3rd. Yes, it's due on May 3rd, which is the same day my kid's going to visit the class. I think I got the date wrong when we were talking about it last week, but May 3rd is finals week. And we'll do that's the day we'll also do our meme contest. Okay. So
Okay.
My kid.
Thought about that.
Yeah. And you still have memes to do. That's right. So be sure to start thinking about those if you haven't been already creating some. And I'll make sure that you guys see the link again about the rules. And we can talk about it also more next week. Excuse me. But anyway, I really like these, these two sort of bookended assignments because, you know, who are you as a writer and who are you now? Because it's really helpful to me too, to see, you know, what you've learned and what you feel you've gained from the class. So it's very useful in a lot of ways.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
No, yeah.
The revision of the op-ed paper with the research MLA. So that's due the 28th on Thursday next week. Is that just what we were writing before, and it's like the final paper?
The final, yeah, it's the one
Okay.
you've been working on, but it'll be the final version because I ended up sort of having you do a second rough draft, as you know. So that at this point, you're finally going to be able to hand in the final version.
Okay.
And normally I would have students do like a final portfolio at this point, but because I asked you guys to do a second rough draft, I thought that would be enough because I get that it's, you know, kind of a lot. And also next week, Thursday of next week, I may have a day where we just do conferencing. So if, you know, where we don't meet as a class, but we conference. So if you want to bring in your draft, that you know, bring in your paper before you submit it, I'd be happy to take another look at it and give you some pointers before you submit it. And obviously, if you submitted it then on Friday, that would be fine, you know, so if you needed a little extra time. So I just want to sort of touch base with everybody at the end of the semester too, for face-to-face, one-on-one, just to see how y'all are doing. So yeah, that's probably how next week is going to work, but I decided to push that until Thursday so we could talk about it on Tuesday and set up a conference schedule. Do you have other questions about all of this?
No, I was just wondering about that. Sorry.
No, that's not, no need to apologize. I'm glad that you asked. So basically, the homework is just to be, focusing on getting all of these things done by their deadlines. And if you happen to owe me any late work, I need it by May 3rd. That'll be the absolute final day that I'll take late assignments. But if you still owe me something and you want to email it to me, I'll accept it. Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you do owe me anything,
I don't
but
think
I think if it turns out that you do, yeah, you can just email it to me. Are there other questions?
Nope.
Well, I just want to say, for the people who are watching this and not attending right now, please do email me if you're confused about anything that I'm talking about in this video, because I want to make sure that everybody is, on the same page and feels comfortable moving forward. So if you're watching this on your own time, email me if you have questions. Okay, are you guys feeling comfortable? Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Sure.
you're all set there, David?
Probably.
Okay, well, the peer review number 2 is going to be due, I think that this is due next week on Tuesday, I think. Yeah, no, I said the 28th. That doesn't make sense, right?
28th would be a Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense. I'm going to fix that because the peer review should be due on Tuesday, the second peer review. If you want to work on it a little bit in class, that's totally fine. But I should have you guys get that in by Tuesday. So I'm going to switch that deadline. And let me see. Yeah, I'll do that directly after this class. So that will be due on Tuesday. And so you're going to want to trade those rough drafts soon, but try to get somebody who, and again, you can work on it during class time. And if you get it to me later in the day on Tuesday, that will be okay. You're going to want to choose somebody new to look at your essay. I know we have a very small class, so that it might be hard to find somebody different, but I think you'll be able to. Just somebody who didn't comment on your first rough draft, somebody who you didn't share that draft with. Yeah, so are there any other questions?
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Well, that's all I got for you today, you guys.
All right.
I'm
I hope you
sorry.
feel better.
Thanks. And I really appreciate you guys meeting with me on here. And like I said, we're not really at the teaching stage anymore. It's really just getting you guys to wrap things up for the semester. So, but if you think of any questions, as usual, just email me or wait and ask me on Tuesday. Okay.
Okay.
Have a good
Alrighty.
weekend, everyone.
You too.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.